Yes. Welcome to another great episode of the Ashish and Friends podcast. Guess what? The next domino has fallen on the QB carousel. Carson Wentz gets traded to the Indianapolis Colts. Dev, give us the details about that trade and give us your thoughts on that too.
Yeah, so the trade is a relatively simple one. There's not a lot to break down here. So the Eagles are going to get this year the Colts' third round pick. The Colts are drafting in the 21st slot, so they'll have the 21st pick in the third round. So, a late third round pick essentially, or I guess a middle of the road one. And then there's a conditional pick next year, and the condition is that if Wentz plays 75% of the snaps or 70% of the snaps and the Colts make the playoffs, they're going to end up giving up their first round pick. And if not, they're going to end up giving up their second round pick next year. So with that, again, the 70% thing, if they make the playoffs, Wentz is probably playing 70% of the snaps. I would imagine that that's probably not going to happen. However, if Wentz is terrible and they miss the playoffs, it's nice that they're not losing that first round pick that would be potentially valuable. So it's kind of like this is essentially a lottery protected first in like an NBA terms, right? Where you're basically lottery protecting the first round pick, because if they're bad, they're just going to pull Wentz to keep the pick, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was telling you that, if 8 games, right? I think that should be enough time. You knock some rust off, get his confidence back. After 8 games, if they suck, right? If they're 4-4 or whatever, they might be like, fuck it, let's just get a new QB in here. But like we were talking about, I think it's a pretty low risk move, right? You bring in someone that's shown an MVP season just a couple years ago, right?
With your coach, right?
With the coach, right? Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator with the Eagles that year. So, I mean, and when you think about it, we can break it down to winners and losers, but I feel just very happy for Carson Wentz. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan.
I think he's the biggest winner.
Easily. I hate the Eagles. I like to make fun of Wentz. Obviously, we still have that take from you, still fresh from last year in my mind.
Number 5 is clearly Carson Wentz to me. I think the fact that Carson Wentz is not one of these elite quarterbacks is beyond stupid. Beyond absurd. Carson Wentz is the 5th best quarterback in the NFL, and it's not close. That's where I would cut off the tier 1 quarterbacks. So if I would say there's 5 elite quarterbacks right now in the NFL: Mahomes, Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, and Carson Wentz.
Because I think that comment of Wentz in the top 5 was the beyond stupid thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy for Carson Wentz because man, that was just so sad to see what happened with him in the Eagles organization. But going to the Colts, holy shit, we talked about this quite a few times. I was just like, whoever gets that job for the quarterback of the Colts is so happy and so satisfied.
Right.
And, one of the best offensive lines ever in the league right now, right? Great weapons. Michael Pittman Jr. and high pick last year. You got a couple other weapons, Mo Alley Cox, tight ends. And you got stud running backs on the team. What else could you want as a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I will say they probably do need to shore up their tackles on that offensive line. But they do, again, they still have their 21st pick. They kept their first round pick this year. That might be somewhere where they can go get a lineman, or maybe they can trade up and get a lineman, or they still have maneuverability options, right?
Right. Yeah.
Who knows? There's still we have the draft, we have free agency. There's a lot more to the roster building, but really big point is that they didn't end up spending that much on him in terms of the cap, because they talked a lot about this Wentz contract, how bad it is. So here's the thing: the contract is really bad if Wentz is bad.
Right.
If Wentz is an average quarterback, this is a good contract, because $24 million is really, really cheap for a quarterback nowadays. If Carson Wentz is simply in that 10 to 20 range in terms of quarterbacks in the league, that's great value. At $24 million cap hit, that's great value. But the problem is the 4 years. So if he's bad, you're strapped with the $24 million for 3 more years.
Right. I think when you're the Colts, you kind of look at what the Rams do, right? You're trying to get this proven asset who's proven in the league before he does belong. He's been in the top 10 quarterback, when he's good. So you might as well risk it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think what they paid was quite reasonable. And I'm happy for the Colts. Like we talked about, like Philip Rivers was not looking too great. I think you can bring in a new weapon. I think T.Y. Hilton's a free agent. I mean, I don't know if you want to bring him back or not, but like bring another like wide receiver for him and let's get cooking, right? Like that team's built to win now. The defense is fantastic. We already talked about the offense. So I think it's a great move by the Colts.
I agree, and I think when with the winners and losers, this has all the potential to be a win-win trade, right? The Eagles really have the potential, be it with Hurts or maybe they go draft, because they're drafting pretty high. I think they're the sixth pick in
Right.
this year's draft, so they can go get a quarterback with the sixth pick. Trey Lance might be available, or Mac Jones will definitely be available with the sixth pick, right? You can go get a quarterback here if you want,
Yeah.
and they have Jalen Hurts if they don't, right? So
Right.
so they're probably fine either way. They can. It depends. Like to me, if I'm the Eagles, just get the best available player. Just give me who's the best player on my board, right? That's
Yeah.
probably what I want. But I will say, this move does not serve well in terms of the fact that, look, the Eagles are dysfunctional. And I know that they just are coming off a Super Bowl win, so we don't really think about them like this, but they've been dysfunctional for years, and they're still kind of dysfunctional because, like, they got rid of Doug Peterson because Wentz didn't want to work with Peterson, and now they don't have Wentz. It does not make sense.
That's exactly it. For my losers, obviously the Eagles front office, right? Obviously they got rid of this bad relationship they were getting with Wentz, but I just think it's crazy. Obviously you had this MVP caliber quarterback, you couldn't make it work. I mean,
You ran the relationship into the ground. The
think about
Eagles front office ran the relationship into the ground. It's their
exactly.
fault.
Yeah, for sure. This is all in the front office of the Eagles. I think they just did a shitty job. I mean, obviously, you're resigning all these old ass people for his offensive linemen. You're signing Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Jackson,
Jackson.
and yeah, I mean, come on, Alshon Jeffrey, come on, get your guys some young studs, give them some protection. I mean, come on, is bad from the start, and it's just bad, right? Like you had all the fans. Let's be real. Philly fans just really suck ass too, right? They're just like, oh, we want Foles, forget Wentz. Like this is a dead ass thing. I hate Philly fans. But yeah, I mean, it's just a bad negative energy going there. And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, I feel bad for Doug Peterson, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like you kept Wentz because you're like, okay, we're going to keep him, forget the coach. Let's rebuild with our quarterback. You didn't keep either, right? Like, what are you doing? We all saw the press conference of the new coach. I don't know what you're doing out here, Eagles.
Yeah. And I don't know. So don't get me wrong. I'm all for celebrating your Super Bowl victory.
Yeah.
But whose idea was it to put a statue of the backup quarterback at your stadium after you decided to keep Carson Wentz? Like, what did you think that was going to do to his confidence? Like, you could have waited 4 years to put up the statue, right? Like, the statue didn't have to go up now.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that played a huge role. Obviously being injured, letting your team win the Super Bowl and you're not even quarterbacking. Then the following season, keeping Foles on the team and like having the crowd or fans be like, "Yo, we want Foles. We want Foles." Like every single game, like that.
Right,
that will bother you.
They could have, like, there were so many ways to get around this. Obviously, look, part of it is being in Philadelphia. Like you mentioned, the fans, Philly fans are demanding and entitled, right? Like that is their reputation around the league, around all of the leagues, right?
Yeah.
76ers, even the Phillies, right? Like
Right.
that's a reputation. That is what they boot Santa Claus, right? This is all you need to know.
Right.
About
No,
Philly fans.
that's exactly it. Like a lot of, obviously a lot of fans, you love it. They're cheering against the other team. They're booing their own team, right? Like they're called the Boo Birds for a reason, right? Like their own fans are so negative about their own team, cheering for injuries. I mean, I don't know what's up with the Philly, but
there's something kind of like poetic about it, though. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of love that they won't hold back against anyone, like including their own team members. Like they're gonna eviscerate you no matter what. And I kind of like that. There's something kind of beautiful about that, right?
I mean, so they're being authentic, right? Like, what more can you ask for? I mean, they are so diehard. They're like, "Yo, F you, you suck. Get off the field." right? I mean, what else? What else could you ask for here? But obviously, okay, let's go back to the trade real quick here. Carson Wentz, I think, great winner. I hope it works out for the Colts. Like I said, I think that team's just built for right now, and hopefully he can do great things. I think also working in an indoor stadium might be really good for him, right? He doesn't have to deal with the outdoor weather conditions. Maybe that saves him from a couple injuries from slipping or whatnot. But like, I love it for Carson. I'm happy for him. Another winner, obviously the Colts, right? Ideally, this works out for them. Like you mentioned, if it doesn't, if he is like one of the shittiest quarterbacks and that's just his thing now, it will bite them, for a couple years, eating that cap space. But I think overall, the receiver core and for the franchise, this is a great move.
So I will say that I think the only criticism I'd have of the Colts is that there probably were other options you could have gone with, and I feel like Deshaun. Obviously, I don't know if there's any chances of getting Deshaun Watson, right? But like, really, if you're the Colts, like you don't need any of like trade 5 first rounders. Like you don't need them. You already have you already have a roster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think probably the Texans just weren't going to trade him in division, so that might not have been an option. But maybe, considering with Detroit, it was just one first rounder, I think, for Stafford, and then the second one to get rid of Goff, right? Maybe that might have been a better option, right? For considering you might end up having to give up a first rounder for Wentz anyway, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's another option. So I will say I am a little critical that I think the Colts had other options. You may have been able to get Darnold for a third, a fourth, maybe. And he's on a rookie contract still.
Right.
So like there are other options to get even cheaper, or because you're already taking a risk with Wentz. It's not like a guaranteed asset. Stafford's a guaranteed asset. Deshaun Watson's a guaranteed asset. If you're going to take the risk, there were smaller risks to take. You could have gambled on some other quarterbacks. Maybe you could even gamble on Jared Goff, right? That was a quarterback you may or Jimmy G, right? There's some other quarterbacks you could gamble on,
right?
But I think that just with chances are Frank Reich said I can fix him, and if you're gonna trust your coach, like I think you should just trust your coach sometimes. And if that's the decision, you think you can fix him. His footwork needs a lot of work. He needs to stop seeing ghosts. He needs to, he just needs to calm down. He needs to be less jittery. He needs to stop playing hero ball. There's a lot of work that needs to go into Carson Wentz. But obviously, I mean, he's a top 5 quarterback talent, right?
Yeah.
He's not a top 5 quarterback. Obviously, that take is completely gone at this point. But
yeah,
he has all of the talent and the skills in the world. So I love Carson Wentz. I hope he succeeds. I really hope he does. And this is the best situation for him.
No. I totally agree. I think, obviously having a better offensive line, having healthy pieces, right? Even last year, you think about the offensive line, like half of the players were injured, right? Even Miles Sanders was out for half the season, right? So I think that all takes an effect and kind of like accumulated and kind of hurts Carson Wentz. So I think having this, solidified team right here is really going to benefit him. And I think I agree, right? We talked about this. I think Matt Stafford was like the perfect fit for the Colts. Like that is like the perfect win now move, and probably the one that should have taken. Jimmy G, questionable. Like you mentioned, Watson probably not going to be traded in the same division, but like a Darnold, right? You at least got to call and see what's there. But like, yeah, I don't mind Wentz. You've seen the talent, and obviously, like you mentioned, the coach and the quarterback, they've worked together before, and they had that chemistry together. So I think as long I think you feel that too, right? Like the coach believes in him, the quarterback probably believes a lot in him, Frank Reich as well. So not too bad. Let's get on and talk about the losers here. Potentially, right? I think, like we mentioned, Eagles front office, just a mess, very disorganized. You spend all this money, you're like believing in this quarterback, then you end up trading him and firing your coach. So I don't know what's going over there. Obviously, I mentioned Doug Peterson. I think he lost out of this just in general.
Yeah, he's the biggest loser, honestly, from this move.
Lost his job because they wanted to keep the quarterback. They didn't even keep the same quarterback. That just sucks.
Yeah. Also, we'll be honest. We can talk a little bit about Doug Peterson, but I'm pretty sure Doug Peterson got fired for doing something the front office told him to do, which was to bench Hurts in the last quarter of that game, right?
Right.
They benched Hurts and they brought out I don't even know his name, but yeah, they threw the game basically, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that wasn't Doug Peterson's call.
Right. And I feel like what they won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. I mean, I don't know. I would have given one more year. You know, he proved something, right? And we all believed in him after he won the Super Bowl. We were watching the Eagles just run through. We're like, damn, Doug Peterson's a good coach, and maybe he's the real deal. And then it's just like, oh no, you got injured quarterbacks, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, he just sucks. So, hopefully,
Yeah, with
you know,
with the Super Bowl, it was I feel like the Eagles collapsing the year after the Super Bowl was pretty the writing was on the wall. Look, I mean, like Doug Peterson's doing a book tour. Like they're like all cocky about everything. They got their coaching staff torn to shreds, right?
right.
Like it was not surprising that they had Super Bowl hangover, right? And I think they made the playoffs and they won the game, right? Didn't they win the double joint
What
game or what
was
was it?
that? Was that not the one with Josh McCown?
Oh, maybe I could be wrong. I might be mixing the years up a little bit because I
Yeah.
know that they did end up winning another playoff game after the Super Bowl, and then they lost to the Saints if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it could be because I just remember
yeah,
that the Eagles were on the Amazon All or Nothing or whatever it's called. They had their own little like film crew in there. And I just remember,
yeah,
I think it was the year after the Super Bowl. It could have been too. I don't know. Time's just weird now. But I just remember that and Josh McCown was there or whatever. But yeah, it's just weird. Obviously another winner we forgot to mention, Jalen Hurts, right? If he gets the starting role here and they don't draft another quarterback, I mean that's great. And if they keep the number 6 pick, you can get like a Jalen Waddle or whatever these wide receivers are, right? There's a lot of weapons there. They could help out Hurts, or they could really package up their picks and kind of move up to like the second pick, right? Getting a Justin Fields, if that's the route they want to go.
yeah. Or you could maybe move up to the third pick and get that lineman, right?
Oh yeah, Penny Sewell, yeah.
Yeah. So like you have some options, right? They've got some maneuverability. Having that extra third round pick just is more draft capital for them to move up. So
I just thought about this. The perfect draft pick if they're picking quarterback, Trey Lance. Let's bring in another North Dakota
Dakota
State
State.
quarterback up in this. Oh, Philly fans would really hate that.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia is such a weird city because, like, I think it was just so crazy the way everything went down that,
Yeah.
like, the city showed Carson no love, despite the fact that, they were what, 12-1 with him or whatever.
Right.
Like, they
Yeah.
were on fire and tearing up the league, and
Yeah.
and this man's like gonna win an MVP.
Right.
And yeah, like I think part of there's two ways to look at it too, right? Like one, we could look at and say like, yeah, Carson Wentz has all this potential. You saw what he did in 2017. Another way you could look at it is that the team was so good that a backup quarterback could win a Super Bowl with it, right? There's two different ways to look at that, and I think they're probably both true, right? They're both true. Carson Wentz was tearing up the league, and the team was so stacked that a backup quarterback could win with it. But let's not. That also, I think, does kind of undervalue. Nick Foles played really well. It wasn't
Oh,
just
yeah.
it wasn't
I'm
just that.
Okay, that brings me to my last loser here, and that is the Chicago Bears. Okay, first of all, you could have brought in Wentz, give him back Foles, right? Give the
Give
Eagles
him back, Foles.
dude, both both trips so far, right? He had that amazing season with the Eagles the first time around. Second time, won a Super Bowl. Who knows? Maybe one MVP in this next turn, but you missed that opportunity, right? The Bears missed out on Wentz, potentially, like we mentioned, like a top 5, top 10 talent. Might as well take the risk, right? Like Trubisky's not getting you shit. And yeah, the reunion with Foles with Philly, I feel like that would have been so perfect. Like that's what the Philly fans want. They should have given it to them.
Yeah, it would have been certainly really interesting. I don't know if the Bears are a winner or a loser here because they're gonna move on from Trubisky. I just don't know who or what. And uh, the QB carousel is not done.
Right. That's true.
There's still more dominoes to fall. Maybe we'll be talking about Deshaun Watson, the best Chicago Bears quarterback of all time. Who knows where we might end up here in a little bit.
That's true. And I think, talking about the Bears, I feel like they need to make moves soon, right? I don't know if they're going to
Yeah.
draft someone or just trade for someone, but I think Allen Robinson's a free agent too, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see if they can, sign him again. Because I know Allen Robinson saw the Super Bowl and was like, yo, I want to go play for a contender, like right now. So let's see what they can do there. Um, Real quickly, we talked about quarterbacks in the first round, right? And ever since these like past 20 days where Stafford, Goff, and Wentz have been traded, from 2009 to 2016, 22 quarterbacks were taken in the first round. None of them are on their original team. And I think that's just wild.
Wow, that's crazy. From what was it? From
From
when?
2009 to 2016.
2009 to 2016. Not a single first round quarterback is
Yeah.
on their original team.
And that's
That is a crazy stat.
that is 22 quarterbacks, right? And I think we talked about like this the last few years
I
looked
assume
really
a lot
good.
of them were busts in there,
Yeah,
but
there's quite a few busts, right? Like, but it's just also just crazy to think about, right? Like when we talk about, oh, your first round is your best shot to get that quarterback for your franchise. I mean, it's still risky.
yeah, well, we're starting to. I think we mentioned it in the Matthew Stafford episode when we were talking about Deshaun Watson that these players are getting NBA levels of mobility quarterbacks.
Right.
And I guess that stat goes to show you because there is one player in the NBA that is 10 plus tenured with the team that drafted them, and that's Steph Curry.
Mm,
That's it. That's
right.
the only player in the NBA that's tenured 10 plus years with the team that drafted him. Like this is the kind of mobility that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And traditionally, almost all quarterbacks are one team quarterbacks until the end of their career, right? Tom Brady, obviously, he's got a Super Bowl with the second team. He's not a one team quarterback, but essentially, for 20 years, he played for one franchise. Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers, for his entire career, has been with one franchise,
So
right?
far.
So far. And I expect him to go. Brett Favre, at the end of their careers, we see them move, but
Yeah.
like the majority bulk of their prime, one franchise. And
Yeah.
we're I guess we're starting to see it, like you mentioned. We're gonna see some of these quarterbacks, the carousel.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just fun. It's fun to talk about, fun to think about all the possibilities, right? And like we talked about, like free agency, the trade, drafts coming up. It's gonna be a great time, and I feel like we're definitely gonna have a couple more of these episodes here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me
And
too. Me
I
too.
I would like to say, I think you're the only one. I was talking to you. It was either a month or two ago. I told you that I heard rumblings of Colts being interested in Wentz. So I just want to be on the record here that I was calling this shit from the beginning.
Yeah.
And just give me my due. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you did talk to me about Carson Wentz to the Colts, and we talked about it. And I talked about how I think that's the best landing spot for Carson Wentz. I don't
Yeah,
know if it's
yeah,
the best landing. It's like the Colts. I don't know if I can say are definitive winners,
right.
right? But I can say for a fact Carson Wentz is a definitive winner.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, way better team, getting rid of that bad relationship. You got to do what you got to do. But hey, this has been a great episode. It's been a great trade. Let's see what happens with both of these teams going forward. But until next time, we are out. See ya.